So looking here at legal and taxes and getting the right business structure together, this is going to be one of the fundamental pillars of business. Remember the 4 pillars of business? We got legal and taxes, we got marketing and sales, we got systems and processes. So you put these things together, these different pillars in business. If you don't have legal and taxes, you don't have anything in business, because you can build a massive empire on top of something that would not be solid. So looking at legal and taxes, the first and best thing that you can do is not do your own research. Yes, you heard that right. Do not do your own research. When you're doing your own research, what's going to happen with that is you're going to find all kinds of things about this and that, and you didn't go through 8 years of law school. So don't do something that's that particular and that critical by yourself when you could hire somebody. Now, what you do need to do in your research on legal and taxes is you need to be looking for somebody who's experienced. Ask around, referrals, asking friends and family, and really just interviewing several different ones. Jim Matuis with Matuis Law is absolutely amazing. He does a lot of work for us. He does a lot of work here for Future Contributions, and he's our go-to guy. So if you don't know who he is, you can go on to our Kickstarter program, and our partners, you can see him there as one of our partners. But he was one of those guys that he knows everything about legal and law. So find that somebody for you as well. And when they do that, they can get you set up in a way that's protecting you, your business, and your personal assets. Because the last thing we want to do is have something go wrong in business that affects our personal assets with liabilities and different things, especially for our families and for our team members. When we're building a business, it's no longer just about us. It's about a team. And there's businesses that go out of business frequently because of tax situations, because of legal situations, because of lawsuits. Big businesses that look like they're great on the outside, but they're not good on the inside. So if you don't have the internal structure built, what's going to happen is when something comes awry, that is going to fall and take everything down. So looking at this, and I'm sorry, with my screen share, like I said, with the computer difficulties, I'm not able to share my screen tonight. But with looking at it, it's starting with choosing the right lawyer for you and getting it set up, the right LLC, or are you going to be an S-Corp corporation, Inc. What are you going to be in the best position to put yourself in that industry? And those are things that only legal advisors and professionals can guide you in and get you set up right for the top tax advantages. Because remember that one of the biggest costs in businesses is going to be taxes. And second to that is going to be turnover, right? So if we want to eliminate and bring down the cost of our business, because I don't view taxes as anything else but an expense. And as an expense, I don't want to pay. So if there's any legal way that I can, within the guidelines of the law, pay less taxes, we're going to do it. And that's how businesses become successful. So a couple little tips with that. What does that look like? Different write-offs. You can, anything with a vehicle over 6,000 pounds, and as long as you are lettering that vehicle and using it as vehicle use, you can check with your accountant, write that off. In most cases, you can. If you're buying a new facility for your business or growing, anything that has to do with your business and solely your business and nothing personal outside of that, you can do a write-off. And what that means is it's counted as an expense, not as profit, even though that you're using that vehicle and you profit that money, but you're growing your business, if that makes sense. So we don't want to be just accumulating a bunch of cash and wealth into our businesses and just leaving it into the bank and not reinvesting it back in. So having different strategies on how to do that. And then we talked about protecting personal assets. Your personal assets are going to be separate from your business assets. And a lot of times, new businesses, when they're just first starting, they are not separating these. And a lot of times, bank accounts are not separated. And this is a rule that is most often broken. A lot of times you can have, this is a little off subject, but not far. You can have legal and you can have taxes and everything else set up correctly. But when it comes down to the fundamentals, if you're If your bank account is not separate from your personal account, you're trying to run a business out of that, at the end, when coming into tax season, it will be a nightmare. And if you ever do get one of those unwanted audits, you're going to have a major issue. So make sure from stage one, when you're even thinking about a date to launch your business and everything else is put in order, that is one of the first things that's needed to be put in place, is a separate bank account with your business name on it. And everything that has to do with the business, you're going to write the checks from there. You're going to run the credit cards from there, the debit cards from there, everything you're going to run from that account. Easy trackability for your accountant and or if you're doing it, and keeping all things evenly separate. That way you can measure what you're looking to grow, because you cannot grow what you do not measure, and you cannot measure what you don't know. So we need to know. And that's the biggest thing in business, is you cannot think legal, law, and taxes and setting up bank account and running businesses. You cannot think. You have to know. And you don't know what you don't know. So that's when you go to coaches. That's when you go to legal advisors and spend the money. When you're writing your business plan and you're putting your expenses together, how much this business is going to cost you to start and how much this business is going to cost you to run, make sure that you're doing this one thing correctly. And this is it, that you are putting a budget in place to spend a good amount of money on legal setup, professional setup, and professional help. You need to be putting that into your budgets. That way, when you come to it, your cash flow goes down before you can get those legal parameters set up that needs to be put in there. And then contracts and agreements. You know, if you're in the trade industries, and that's what we're talking about, is how to build trade type industries, home service type businesses, you're going to have contracts. And those contracts cannot just be something that you're making up that sounds good. They need to be legal binding. What does that mean? Legal binding means it needs to be able to hold up in court. If you do get taken to court for whatever reason in your businesses, it has to withstand the eyes of the law within your state, your province, and everything that's going on with that. So that is where, again, if it's not set up legally and you're doing a $60,000 roofing job, or you put a $15,000 air conditioner in with the HVAC and lining and everything in it, it's a $100,000 job, and you're not getting paid for something because of whatever reason, and it's not set up correctly in your agreements, you're going to lose that money. And businesses do quite often. And then compliances, setting up for and with employees and team members and subcontractors, and all of those different agreements all need to be put in place with legal binding law that would put a stamp on it that says, yes, this is good to go. So what we just discussed, we eliminate about 90% of all businesses out there, because a lot of other businesses do not have legal taxes set up. They do not have their bank accounts properly done, and they are not setting themselves up properly with contracts. So you run into major issues. Guys, business is hard enough. Even when everything's running smoothly, business is hard. Business is not easy. If it was, everybody would do it. And I'm a true believer that anybody can. Anybody can run a business. And if you think otherwise, let me put it to you this way. And if you think that you are running a business and you feel like you can't, welcome to the club. All business owners get there from day to day, some more than others. And I'll say this before I continue that thought, is until you feel like you mentally, physically, everything within you wants to quit and you don't know how you continue, that's your first day in business. Because you don't start in business or something great in life until you come to the end of yourself. When you come to the end of yourself is when you're ready to get started. Because we talked about last week, when you get past your problems, when you get past resistance, you still have you, because you're the greatest resistance and many times the greatest holdback of your own success. Me, all of us, it's human nature. So we get that out of the way, then we can grow. So going back to the legal setup, the contracts, putting everything else together, and running professional businesses, we need to then, in the eyes of the customer, be in a position to where we can offer them our insurances. And setting up insurance is another big thing in business. You know, we can have all the legals and the taxes and all that set up, but when something does happen, on a job site, there's injuries, there's things that could happen, customers, accidents, car accidents, equipment damages, damage on a property, something drops. You want to make sure that your insurances are covering you in the proper way. And you need to look at your business model and the industry that you're in, and you need to take evaluation. And this goes back to the studying, and nobody can do this for you. You can hire an analysis and somebody to really scrutinize these different things in the industry. But at the end of the day, they're going to bring you the information. You as the owner are going to have to make the decision. Okay, my industry says that I should have insurance for this. This is the deductibles. This is the coverages. I should have this. I should not have that. You got to determine what's most important to you. And insurances have not gotten cheaper. They've gotten way more expensive for cars and trailers and equipment and liabilities on property, and protecting your team members. All of that stuff needs to be put in place because, as you heard many times, the verbal saying that the chain is only strong as its weakest link, right? So if you have all the different things put together, there's just one thing missing. Example, a successful business that I know and that was running. There is different vehicles that were not put on the accounts. They were sending off information to these people, to their insurance agent, but not confirming that the insurance agent was actually putting onto the accounts. They would have entire fleets of vehicles that would not be on the insurance. When you're running these vehicles down the road, your guys are driving them. They're not driving as careful as you're going to drive them. And you're having vehicles that are uninsured thinking they are insured. So that's, again, coming back to make sure that you know, don't think. And then have follow-up processes after these things are set up. Once you put your eyes on it once, and yep, this is the avenue we're going to move. This is the insurances we're going to carry. This is the legal that we're going to do. This is the taxes that we're going to do. After it is set up and you do your check sheet, go back through it and make sure it was set up in the way that you intended it to be. That's going to be very important. And this here too is going to come down to running it as a team. So once we get through legal and taxes and we get it set up and you're in front of the customer and you're doing work for them, they're asking for the proper insurances and you have all these different things in place. Now we have a really secure foundation on launching and running a business. So there's much more to running a business than just legal and taxes and marketing, and all that stuff is great. But one thing that it really comes and dives and falls on is customer service. So I want to talk a little bit today about customer service. Once you have all these 4 pillars built in business and your business is going great, this is, I say it this way, that a lot of business owners are excited to start businesses because they get to be the boss. And if that's your thought, then you're going to be very disappointed very quickly because the customer writes your paychecks now. Your boss that you work for no longer writes your paychecks. And ultimately, when you're running a sizable team, once you have one other person working for you, you now have another opinion within your operation. Once you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 people working with you, you being the boss and being a leader are very 2 different things. Leading a team is getting their input, evaluating it, and appreciating it, and putting aside your pride. Even when you think something's right, still hear your team out. Now, this is something that we do here. This is part of customer service, by the way. When somebody onboards with us in my home service business, for example, they have 90 days to come in and to work. And after they're hired and we feel like they're a good hire, they have 90 days to come in and work in our business before they come and give me any suggestions on how they would change it. Because a lot of times in that 90 days, they will have their own answers or questions answered. But once they get through those 90 days and they have witty ideas of different things that they could do, I'm all ears. Open door policy. So when you have that type of environment where you're encouraging growth and you're not just the guy on top, see, our boss pushes the team. And in fact, they're not even a team. They're just employees, that word employees, right? They're just pushing them. but a leader pulls the team. And the leader, if you talk about breaking, if you're walking through like a thick jungle, they're in the front chopping down all the weeds and making the path as easy as it can be so others can follow in behind them. A boss is pushing them through the jungle and pushing his people in front of everybody because he doesn't want to be the first one to hit danger. You ever see those guys who they're afraid to get their hands dirty after they're sitting in the office? If you ever get to the point in any business and you're not willing to do the smallest thing, even when you're at the very top, if you're not willing to clean the toilets when you're a president, CEO, and business owner, and when you don't have to be out in the field, you're not qualified anymore to lead your company. You always have to be willing to do the dirtiest jobs, to give the biggest hand up to somebody who needs that help, and always be willing to fill in wherever it needs to be. If you can't do that, you're not a leader. And we need leaders running businesses, because bosses can build businesses, but they won't last. And there's tons of turnover, and it's very stressful for the customer, because what happens with customer service, when there is an issue, when there is a problem, the number one thing that is going to determine whether a customer is happy is not going to be you as a business owner. It's going to be the employee. It's going to be that person out there. They are the tip of the spear. They're the ones that are representing your company. Your lowest paid employee is a representation of the highest quality of your company. The lowest paid team member or employee is the highest quality representation of your company. Remember, the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So what I'm getting at is, don't be cheap. Treat your team well. Down to the lowest position in your company to the highest, everybody needs to be treated with respect equally and inputted. Because that one team member that goes out there who does not enjoy you and you're not treating him well, but he's just there for a paycheck and punching in and out of the clock, he can mess up an entire job very quickly. Somebody doesn't have to be in charge to mess something up. I've been through that many times. So just by simply having those parameters set up, it creates an environment of great customer service. And remember, just running a business is going to be hard. Just running a business is going to be hard, even when everything is going right. So when things are not put in correctly and put in place properly, it's even more on your plate. So in customer service, let's talk a little bit in the few minutes we have left on troubleshooting and problem solving. So let's say you do have a problem with a customer. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to handle that issue immediately. The way that we handle this and the way that I coach it, and I've seen, and my coach coaches me, is what we're going to want to do in these situations is you're going to have a process to where somebody's not calling you. If it's not really an emergency, but a customer needs to speak with you, but you know that it can wait, they put it on your calendar. They give them a call, and the process is, and train your offices guys this way, that, hey, we understand your concern. This is a top priority for us. And whoever is in charge, maybe you as the owner aren't in charge to take care of the problem. Maybe as a project manager. But you need to have a system in place where that problem gets put on that person's calendar, so they're notified that they need to be taking care of it till the end of the day. And it goes just like this, that understand, Mr. Customer, we're here to help you make sure the job is a 5-star quality. We will have so-and-so get back to you before the end of the day. And the customer's fine with that. Then it goes on to the responsibility of the ultimate person in charge of making the decision, making that customer happy, that they will get back in touch with them. So we need to make sure that if our office is saying they're going to get back to them today, you get back to them today. And that's going to be very important, because a lot of times the problems are not actually a problem, it's a concern. But when you don't get back to a customer and communicate with them, even if you're not able to call them, just text them and saying, hey, just getting back, it's late, just leaving the office for today, this is important to me, but I will give you a call first thing in the morning. Just that communication will keep a concern. But if you don't communicate properly, it will become a problem. And then it will become a major problem if you don't keep on communicating. So you follow up with the customer. Once the customer is on the phone and you're talking with the customer, you're going to want to make sure that they feel understood and they feel heard. And once they feel those two things when you're talking on the phone with them, Now you can interject and then say what you need to say about the project. You can very quickly find out with the customer if, number one, this can be handled over the phone, or number two, if you need to go out there and actually see the customer. If you treat the customer as important as a fresh lead, even when the job is completed, your customer service will be 5-star. A lot of business owners will treat a new lead or a new sale or a new project more important than a problem customer. No, a problem customer is more important than that next revenue dollar coming in. Because even though we're in a technological age, word of mouth and top of the mind marketing still rules. Old school will always be the new school. I don't care. We're human beings and we relate that way. If you don't do something right with a customer that has a problem, you will not stay in business. It's impossible. So we need to treat this customer with utmost respect and hear them. And if we need to schedule a time and maybe move a new lead out of the way so we can take care of a problem, that needs to be done. And when we go out there, making sure that all decision makers or whoever people in charge are going to be there and address the problem head on. And then always be willing to do more than what's expected. There's a lot of times where I'll try to make sense with the customer of the issues and the problem that's going on. I'll make them clearly understand. But sometimes you have a customer who does not want to understand and they don't understand. Those are two very different things. But both of those things come down to a solution. Either you can walk away with an angry customer, or you can do what's more than expected once you painted the proper picture and have them in agreement as much as you can and making sure it's in favor of the customer, not you, in favor of the customer. Once you do that, you might have to give some of the profit of the job away or offer them something in the future for free. But the customer has to know that they're cared about and that the project didn't go exactly as planned. No problem, we'll take care of you, because that neighbor will tell the other neighbor, which will tell that community, which then will become a household name. You don't become a household name by not treating customers more important than a new sale. So that is really, when it comes down to it, fundamentally, after you have the pillars built in your business, customer service are going to be one of those next things that you're going to build right on top of those pillars. And once you have customer service in place, now you have a smooth running machine. Because if your team's happy, you're happy, the customer is going to be a lot more happy. And if we can keep all of those things going on, we still have everyday business problems. But if we have a system in place on how to handle solutions and problems, we can go through it within a way that will be effective, and we can reach our goals even when pushing through problems. Remember, we cannot force our way out of something. We must grow ourselves out of something. So if you're having problems and the continual problem keeps on arising, the same problem, and you keep on getting stressed out about the same problem, that is a broken process. It's okay to have broken processes. It's not okay not to fix them. But as a new business owner and as a growing business owner, a lot of times you're stretched way too thin and you do not have time to be working on this because you need to work on that. So how do you find the time to do this, to do that? The thing is, it goes back to your why. It goes back to your why, which will then produce the how. A lot of times the answer is right in front of you. And a lot of times the answer really comes down to discipline and hard work. It's just, once you get past being smart and getting the advice and analyzing everything and knowing what the problem is and making a strategic plan to overcome it, you can never supplement discipline and hard work that need to be applied for what I just said. But if you take discipline and hard work out of it, it doesn't help to have the answer and not do something about it. Once you find the answer, it might mean not doing those fun things in the evening and you're working in the office until 11, 12 o'clock. Martha, my wife, is an absolute rock and has really helped build this company and our companies in the positions that they are. And there's been many nights where we've been strategizing in the office 11, 12 o'clock at night, both exhausted, but we knew the answer and we did all the research that we needed to do, along with other team members. I mean, I have one awesome team member I have is Greg Law. And, we'd be strategizing here at 8, 9 o'clock at night in the office and taking care of loose ends and doing this. And I have a lot of other great team members that work long after hours. I mean, Rob Nicholson, another one of my team members, just putting extra effort in, doing more than what they're paid to do because they want to see the business grow. So you're going to have a culture in place that is not 9 to 5, but is whatever it takes. And you need to build that culture. And when you build that culture on top of the pillars, and you build that culture on top of customer service, and you truly build that team, discipline and hard work are still going to be a key ingredient on getting past and growing your business. So rather than going out to eat that evening or going to that entertainment or watching that movie, you're going to have to spend in the office, because if you don't spend the time that it takes to fix it now, the problem is just going to get bigger. So there's two options here, little time we have left. There's two options when you face a broken process. You can either let it go and get worse, and at some point, then you're not going to have any time. You're going to lose revenue. You're going to lose employees. You're going to lose customers. And number 3, if you don't do something drastically, you're going to lose your business. So it's better to build with a plan, strategically, build everything up, look ahead, but we can't see everything. So when something happens and when duty calls, we need to step up to the plate, and we need to be in the office. We need to be in the field. We need to take care of employees who are sick. We don't move that job. We go do their work for them. We take care of it. We do whatever we need to do. Why? Because our why is bigger than the what that we're facing.